regular meeting of January 5, 2026. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Present.
Thomas.
Present.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside.
Present.
Ross.
Here.
Garner. 5 present.
So I'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Happy New Year, everybody. Start off with public comments. Anything that's not, that is on the agenda, actually. You may step to the microphone and make a statement. There being none, on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion
Second.
by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Aye.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the December 15, 2025 meeting. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2026-01, authorizing a plat amendment to parcels 1, 2, and 8 in Riverside Plaza subdivision. Item number 3, approval of engineering division request to set the following bid dates. A, Gages Lake Road pedestrian improvement, January 26, 2026. B, Granville Avenue sidewalk improvement, January 26, 2026. And C, Estes Region water main improvements, February 9, 2026. Item number 4, approval of payroll for period ending December 12, 2025 in the amount of $1,132,119.16. Item number 5, approval of payroll for period ending December 26, 2025 in the amount of $1,008,921.11. Item number 6, approval of bills for period ending January 5th, 2026 in the amount of $1,911,082.50.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Balmas. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Aye.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5
Motion carries. On to petitions and communications. Approval of proclamation designating January 19, 2026 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the village of Gurnee. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has made a lasting impression as a key leader in the American civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s. His outstanding leadership, inspiring speeches, and diligent efforts on behalf of our nation's at-risk and minority population have encouraged millions of Americans to share his dream of civil equality and to bring this dream closer to reality. The campaign for a federal holiday in Dr. King's honor began soon after his assassination in 1968. Ronald Reagan signed the holiday into law in 1983, and it was first observed on January 20, 1986. It was officially observed in all 50 states for the first time in the year 2000. Now, therefore, I, Thomas Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim January 19 to be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day in the village of Gurnee, and urge residents to recognize the important role he played in advancing freedom and opportunity for all. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Woodside, second by
I'm sure.
Karen Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then on to no old business, on to, oh, sorry, I skipped right over why you guys are sitting in front of me. Yeah, why are you guys sitting here? All right, so presentation of fiscal year 2026-2027 proposed capital budget.
Sure, so I'll just give a quick intro here. So try to do this the first meeting in January every year. This is kind of the kickoff to the budget process. We go over the proposed capital improvement plan for the upcoming year. I'll get that in front of the village board. Next public hearing isn't until March, so there's time to digest that between now and then. If there's any changes, concerns, we say this every year. Say it again this year. Biggest capital program in the village's history. I don't think we'll be saying that next year. There's a lot of one-time or two-year big ticket items in this year's capital program that won't carry forward into future years. But we'll have Brian kick it off, and then we've got Nick, Heather, John, Jeremy, and Ryan kind of go over the roads, water, what's going on in their departments as far as big capital ticket items, and then open it up for questions typically after the presentation.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Pat.
As Pat mentioned, multi-year capital plan is one element of our long-term planning process included in our planning and reporting cycle. Multi-year capital plan really helps us identify benchmarks, replacement plan, funding strategies for capital in like 6 different categories. Transportation system, buildings and building improvements, water and sewer system, vehicles and equipment, technology, stormwater management. We'll talk a little bit about all 6 of those tonight. Also provides us a nice scope of what we're responsible for, which is a lot. And then details a near-term funding plan that we'll get into for next year's capital improvement budget. Looking long-term here, so this is the total 5-year plan. Just a couple things, overall spending, $93.2 million over the 5 years, not all in 1 year. Included in this is funding from home rule sales tax. As you know, January 1st, we increased that by 0.5%, dedicated to half of that to capital. So of the 1.5% home rule sales tax, 0.75 is dedicated to capital. Also a major source of funding for the capital plan is a general fund contribution. Typically that comes from excess fund balance over and above our policy. We'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. Water and sewer rates cover a portion. We also have a couple restricted funds that can only be used for capital items, motor fuel tax and police forfeiture items. And then to a lesser degree, there's grant opportunities that the village and all the departments try to go after every year. That also offsets part of it. Obviously, the village tries to minimize debt whenever possible. We have utilized some flexible financing options for like real short-term equipment out at Bittersweet and Fire Station 3, which we paid off in like 3 years, I think was the max, probably shorter than that. So we have used that in the past, nothing proposed here. The only outstanding debt the village has is the Knowles Road Tower, which is a very low interest rate IPA loan that'll be paid off 10 years early in 2031. Looking more at what is being proposed for next year, FY27, kind of right in the middle of the chart there. This is what we'll spend most of our time on tonight. Overall plan, $27.6 million. 10.9 of that is transportation system. 6.1 million on buildings and building improvements. 5.4 million on the water and sewer system. 3.8 million on vehicles and equipment. 910,000 on technology, and 400,000 on stormwater management. Obviously, we'll hit on the detail in each one of these categories as we go through the presentation tonight. As Pat mentioned, by far the largest capital plan we've had. Major purchases in almost all the categories. So I just want to take a minute and just touch on one of the funding mechanisms for next year's capital plan and proposed funding mechanisms, which is the general fund capital contribution. As you know, our fund balance policy is 60 to 65% of general fund expenditures less transfers. At the end of the most recent fiscal year, which would have been 4/30/2025, we were at 76%, which puts us at 7.3 million over the lower limit and 5 million over the upper limit. Now, this doesn't include anything that would happen this year. So any, additional, surplus or excess or positive variance that we have this year doesn't include any of that. Through November, we are already 3.2 million to the good. So take the 7.3 and the 5 and add 3.2 to it, assuming the rest of the year is flat, which we would hope it's not, but we already are 3.2 million to the good through November. For the proposed capital plan that we'll hear about tonight, we need 6.5 million from that general fund reserve to fund 5 million for infrastructure, then $1.5 million for the second piece of the Bittersweet irrigation system. So we're looking at, proposed in the plan is a $6.5 million transfer. Obviously that happens in conjunction with the budget. So we still have some time between now and April when that's approved. So if anything should happen in between then, we can adjust. Something crazy happens and revenues are down for some reason, we can adjust before that happens. But so we're not spending money we don't have. It'll be there if we go through with the transfer in April. With that, I will turn it over to Pat to talk about administration.
Sure. So typically we don't have that much for administration from year to year, but as you know, in the buildings 3.5, that's not just administration. But we did include some money in this year, upcoming budget, proposed budget for updates to the Village Hall building. So we've partnered with FGM Architects, meeting with them for a refresh of the building. So just a reminder, the building's from 1992. We still have some original window treatments, some original carpet in the building. Office furniture is original in the building. Operations have changed, staffing has changed, so we're looking at possibly creating some more offices within the facility, and then again, just refreshes throughout the building. So we have $500,000 in proposed for next year. FGM's supposed to be getting us some budget numbers here shortly after the first of the year, so we'll see what those look like. Budget off in phases is where it's probably heading, but again, once we get those numbers, we'll see. Bittersweet irrigation system, so we've talked about that. Again, the irrigation system out there, original course, have been having issues with it for multiple years as far as leaks, so we bid that out. Last year came in, I think, at $3.4 million. Have saved up some money in the golf course fund. Golf course is gonna be pitching in $500,000. We did a transfer of excess. We had some funding, capital funding left over last year that we dedicated to the golf course fund, and then that $1.5 million that Brian talked about as far as the transfer. So physical security, again, that's just locks, video cameras, at such a Village Hall. AV updates, again, looking at the projector, the monitors that we have, the council chambers around there. And then going forward, looking at just some of our software programs. So finance software is approaching 10 years old, I think, coming up here in the near future. Building department software, the Llama software that we use is served us well, but that's provided by a small shop. So there's concerns there that if, you know, they either sell on to a larger company, or if one of the principals decides doesn't want to do it any longer, there could be an issue there. So looking at some of those software in the future. And then the DQ property, looking at developing that in conjunction with our 100-year anniversary coming up in 2028. So a continuation of Welton Plaza, but having that more dedicated to the history of the village, maybe some sort of central focal piece in there. Not sure what that looks like yet. Obviously, we have to take the floodway into consideration, but we do have a contract with Hitchcock Design Group that's worked with the Park District in the past. That's going to help us put together a couple of different ideas. So once we have some ideas together, we'll flow that by the village board, solicit some input, but that was kind of the thought with that in conjunction, like I said, with the 100 years. So included some funding in there. The plan would probably be to obviously get the conceptual together, and then in the following years bid out, you know, putting hard plans together that someone could take and bid the work and then build it the following year. So that's a couple years down the line, but plug some money in future years for that, so.
All right, so jumping in, the highlights to the information systems general capital plan. We're gonna start off with a software project. This is following the new features available through our Microsoft 365 transition. We're evaluating how we address digital communications retention. So Microsoft 365 has multiple communications tools that are outside of email or Outlook. So as we continue through this collaboration change, we're looking to introduce a third-party application to help us retain, manage, and reproduce the applicable business records. In networking equipment, network switching and routing is a major component to our capital request for this year. This may seem familiar. We've talked about it in the years past. It is a continuation of our multi-year network replacement plan. So switching and routing are core components that integrate or interconnect our systems and provide a path to both local and cloud resources. And in general terms, this is, in this contemplated budget, equipment that will have been in service 7 to 10 years. So it's approaching manufacturer end of life during the fiscal year 27, and that marks the end of critical software updates, firmware updates, and available support. There are purchases still to be completed here in fiscal year 26. So we would expect a similar time frame for the second half of 27 for these purchases. And then that program, that network replacement hardware program, would be forecasted out, tapering off in fiscal year 29. So there's still major things to happen in 28 going forward. We have 18 point-to-point network wireless links. This is radio equipment mounted on our communication and water towers that help us build a redundant, resilient, wide area network connecting our facilities together, providing access to distributed information systems resources. Much of this equipment has had an extended service life. Some of it has reached end of support, and in other cases is even becoming problematic, bringing down our resiliency. So we're looking to make some strategic equipment changes here to bring that reliability back up and ensure trouble-free network access across our facilities. Call out here our network administrator, Paul Voida, who joined us in May, jumped right into doing some troubleshooting, coordinating with contractors, and developing a priority list of replacement recommendations. So kudos to him on this one. But maintaining supported equipment, it's a major tenet in a good cybersecurity posture, but there's those classic cybersecurity things too that also have a life cycle. So some of our firewalls are nearing end of service life and are scheduled to be replaced during fiscal year 27. And then in conjunction with that switching and routing program, we'll be updating some network designs to add additional firewall hardware to further increase network security. In our funding request, we also have allocations for third-party consulting to assist in security design, particularly around SCADA and our water service. And we do have some funding in there too for an incident response team, just in case we actually have a real cybersecurity incident. This is a carryover amount from the last few years, and it's really just bootstrapped before we get the cybersecurity insurance providers and other providers engaged. Of course, not to be used in case unless it's needed. Other side of disaster recovery, cybersecurity is disaster recovery. In the current year, we updated our tape backup system, more than doubling its capacity and speed. So in fiscal year 27, our plans include refreshing and expanding storage for distributed off-site disaster recovery. So this is where we take our data and we distribute it in a rotational fashion in different facilities to make sure that we have copies of that in case there's some disaster locally. In forecast years 28 and 9, we're looking at our primary enterprise storage platforms as those near end of life. So those will be bigger ticket items out there in 28 and 9. In our department capital line, so Pat touched on this a little bit with the AV projects and the physical security, but you'll see that recurring as the remainder of the staff move through the slides. We have audio-visual distribution updates for the police department, Fire Station 2, Village Hall. It's really in support of the projects that are going to go on inside of those facilities. We'll be updating our environmental monitoring and alerting hardware for our server rooms and network closets. So this is replacing hardware that is at least 15 years old, monitors the temperature, humidity, if there's water leaks, that kind of stuff, and gives us alerts as needed. We'll be moving through our third year of network security camera updates. Again, this is replacing products that have been in service for a great many years and are approaching or have reached end of life. And then the access control and physical building security improvements, primarily for Village Hall and Public Works. But all the things that are here on the slide, the things I've mentioned and the things that we'll continue to talk about, really speak toward that well-maintained infrastructure in our strategic plan, aligned directly with industry cybersecurity best practices and goals that the cybersecurity insurance provider has given us. But as always, I'm happy to answer questions when we get there and open to reviewing details through the course of the remainder of the budget process.
Good evening. So for 2027, we're looking at, we've identified 7 patrol vehicles that need replaced based off of talking to fleet maintenance, the hours and the maintenance costs put into them. That includes 6 patrol vehicles and 1 evidence technician vehicle. The patrol vehicle is used 24/7, and the evidence technician vehicle is actually used, it's used on every single shift for every officer. So although some of the patrol vehicles have a chance to sit for a little bit, the ET vehicle is replaced every year. DFR enhancements, I know that we came to the board just recently and talked about, got approval for a pilot and a contract for Flock for DFR enhancements for our drone. We're still, that starts in February. We're still evaluating different vendors. We believe that the cost that Flock has a good product. We believe in it, but it seems like every week that they're being more competitive. We're finding technology on drones that are advancing very rapidly. The costs are coming down, so we're pretty sure that we're going to be able to get that cost way under what we went to the board with previously, whether it's with this vendor or another one getting something the same or similar. We just don't want to get locked into a 3-year contract and then watch prices drop. And so we're keeping an eye on that and evaluating each vendor. Our rifle replacement program, we have rifles in all of our squads. We have rifles at strategic locations around the village, depending on what officers are working. And those rifles, they're used quite often in training. The majority of them are over 20 years old, with the lifespan of a normal patrol rifle being between 10 and 15 years on average when they're just barely used. Ours are used pretty routinely. So we're looking at a 3 to 4 year rifle replacement program. So that averages about $45,000 a year, so that we can spread it off over 4 years. We're also looking at a explosive ordnance dog. Currently, you might have seen there's been some publicity with Gurnee Mills having a dog walk around the mall. That dog is a gunpowder residue dog, so it only can sniff and smell gunpowder for firearms. We're looking for one that not only can do explosives, but also tracking. So tracking for persons, lost kids. Additionally, we can use it for the mall, Six Flags, all the schools, and anything else that comes up, because we're routinely, if we need to call for an explosive ordnance dog, which we do every year for different events, we have to go all the way to Great Lakes or the sheriff's office if they have one available, and routinely they don't. So for building, real-time information center, we're looking to transform the dispatch center. Currently our apprentice work out of there and with a supervisor, but we're researching different vendors and software that allow us to turn that, to basically suck in different cameras from organizations, school districts, and have an actual real-time information center where when something happens, it's instantly on the screen. We would be able to get 911 calls as they come in, so we'd actually be able to hear the 911 calls as the operator answers it, so we'd get a head start on that. The video allows us to, it has different ones have AI tracking, so if there's an incident that comes on, whether it's at the mall or something else, we're able to identify that person or whatever is going on relatively quickly with that. The UPS replacement, HVAC, carpet, concrete flooring. The building is over 20 years old now. We're starting to see a lot of things go out, and we're on that replacement plan with the painting and the flooring. So this kind of goes along with it, replacing, we have half the flooring replaced, continue with that. The concrete flooring in the booking room and downstairs, the booking room hasn't been touched in years, and the downstairs needs some refinishing. So that's all part of it. The portable generator integration, we've moved to a little bit less expensive option than we had years ago when we were looking at parking a generator outside when we had dispatch. We still need power for obvious reasons, where we house prisoners and we have 24-hour operations there. But the time frame has been extended where we can, Public Works can assist us with getting a generator over there. It's just making sure that we have the ability to hook it up more quickly than not. And then on the technology side, the logging at SARCOM, we're still recording all of our radio traffic for our officers, and we still pay STARCOM fees for all of our radios. And I'll pass it off to the fire department.
Good evening. Fire department, we'll start with vehicles and equipment. The story hasn't changed much in this area. We're still 3 years out on fire engines, over 2 years out on ambulances. As you recall, the engine that's on here, this engine 1312 replacement, you actually last April approved this coming through. Our crew just went out in December, did the specs on this. It'll be another 24 months till this is at the earliest in our possession. So though it's in this year's budget, this was already discussed with you, we kind of went through it. As a reminder, our life expectancy on engines are 16 years. Typically, we've been holding the last couple closer to 18 to 19 years due to the fact that we just can't get them. So we're being a little more proactive, trying to order a little earlier, but even that's not keeping us completely on pace. Just a quick reminder, we also have 2 ambulances that were already ordered from previous budget years. We've not seen those yet. We're hoping to see one maybe next budget year and the other one early the following budget year. Same thing, ambulances were supposed to be replaced every 10 years. We're going 12 years. We're over 200,000 miles on those now. It's almost unheard of how many miles and how they're doing. It really goes a long way. I know last year in the operating budget, you gave us a mechanic, and it's really helped a lot. And I have to say thank you for that. It's allowed us to keep those vehicles up and running every day. It's gone very well. Additionally, our vehicles, we have 10 cars, chief cars, snow plows along that. We replace one of those every 10 years, so we'll be coming this year with one of the command cars to be replaced. The other big project we just put in place are LifePak 35 monitors, brand new technology, highest technology you'll find in the entire county. We just put it in place on all of our ambulances. Real neat system. Our people have been learning, and I say our people because they're all computers now. Literally, they look like tablets that are built into something, so it's a whole different technology than it was years ago. The young people take to it very well. Us that were trained in older models might be taking a little longer to get there, but everyone's getting there. The second half of that was on our engines, we would go to monitoring AEDs. These aren't used as often. They still allow us to go ahead and diagnose all the strips as we see different EKG monitoring with them, but at the same time we could shock if there's an ambulance not there. So we're looking to replace those, and then we went to the automatic CPR machines. They're coming up on end of life. The oldest one's over 10 years old now. It's time to start refunding those and getting those replaced. So that's what we're hoping to get in this year in our equipment. As far as the buildings go, Fire Station 2, we're out to bid actively right now. A mandatory meeting on January 8th. Bids should be back. We'll come before you the second meeting in January, so the next meeting, hopefully with those bids for approval to start the project. Half that was in this year's budget. This is the second half of that project to finish. Reminder, that building was built in 1995, so over 30 years old, hard to believe. Has not been touched. The front office area is original. All the bunks are still open air. One of the biggest lessons we learned during COVID, we built Station 3, we did Station 1, was getting those closed for quality of life issues, just allowing sleep, not passing potential diseases back and forth as we're working 24/7, 365. We really don't have the opportunity to shut down. It just can't happen in public safety, so we need to protect our employees so they're out there healthy and safe to protect the public. So that's out there. Fire Station 1, I have to thank Public Works Director Galan. She actually set up for all of us. They came through and looked at our masonry in all of our buildings. Well, I shouldn't thank her, I guess, because I'm in front of you asking you for some help now. Fire Station 1, which, a reminder, constructed in 79, we moved in 80. We have about $115,000 to $120,000 worth of masonry repair, mostly up in the hose tower area up there. A couple of walls have to be torn partially down, redone, going around the whole building. Definitely is pretty high priority when we looked at it. We were a little surprised how bad it was. I will say I've had a few guys point and say, hey, have you seen it up there? And you can't go, yeah, it's okay. Well, it's not. It's time to replace that, so we're working on that. The other thing, we always carry a little money in the annual maintenance. As we said, that building at Fire Station 1, a few of those rooftops are approaching 30 years old now. They could go at any time. We're replacing them more when they go, just because that way they're staggered. We're not really going with a proactive. Our people that are working on them still say they're good systems. They're able to fix them. At some point they won't, and then we'll make the decision. So we carry the money forward. We're not being proactive in replacing them, and that's a recommendation of our annual maintenance program. Fuel Island, I'm assuming you'll talk about in a little while. Heather, I'll leave that one for you. Last couple items, technology. Ryan covered most of this. The one I'll touch on is the outdoor warning sirens. We always carry enough money in there to be able to replace a couple of the sirens if needed. Those are still tested monthly, out loud. They're twice a week, silently. We get tests. Myself, Ryan gets the emails. We see those. Just a reminder, they're all automated now. It happens in the background. We do have multiple places we can set them off manually if necessary. but we carry some dollars in our capital budget to replace those. So that's what I have for this evening. On to Heather.
All right, thank you. So in the Public Works budget, I'll start with vehicles and equipment. Right now, we are requesting $1.2 million. That includes the upfitting of the 3 5-yards that we purchased in the current fiscal year. It also includes the 1-ton with upfitting, as well as 3 individual pickup trucks, which are kind of the workhorse of everyone driving around, including the supervisors and the leads in the different divisions. On several different slides, you've noticed, obviously, that we have the fuel island in parts over multiple divisions. So the Public Works Streets takes 25%, Utility takes 25%, and so does Police and Fire. So we all share the cost of that, and I'm leading that project. Right now, we have it in design. Obviously, we moved it further to the north side that I mentioned previously, so now we're looking at a little bit higher cost project, but in a better location that also allows for timing. Recently, the board approved the contract for design and bidding services for the fleet garage improvements. So that's to widen one of the garage doors potentially to allow vehicles to enter into the largest mechanics bay, as well as to potentially remove stairwell to allow a plow truck to pull in all the way in bay 5. So along with that, we're gonna try and get it bid early on, and then get maybe some work done in this fiscal year and the remainder in next fiscal year. Part of my issue with that is that I can't occupy all of the workspace at one given time because they have to be able to maintain vehicles, so we have to phase it and only take up half the bays at any given point in time for the trench drain work as well as for the construction work that goes along with it. When it comes to technology, obviously Ryan mentioned the upgrades in the budget for Public Works not only include physical security, AV distribution, and SCADA, but it also includes a large format printer. So this is for our lights and signs division in the street department. Currently, right now, the way we make signs is we cut media, and then you pick out the empty space and you place the media on top of the sign. So this new piece of equipment will allow printing of the sign directly onto the media, which then will decrease the number of wasted material when you cut out letters. It will, however, increase in the cost of ink, but so there'll be a trade-off there. And we could potentially decrease our reliance on Lake County signs because we would be able to print them in-house. I believe that touches on everything for Public Works. If there's any questions, let me know.
Good evening. All right, so with this year's potential capital projects, we're looking at, again, a really robust year in terms of large-scale projects. In the transportation systems line item, we're looking at around $11 million in project costs. That includes $3.7 million in resurfacing, approximately a little over 5 miles, $5 million in reconstruction. That will be reconstruction of Fuller Road. That'll be roughly 1.25 miles. Engineering consulting, that's around $850,000. That'll include design engineering for future projects and construction oversight. And then $950K for sidewalk and pedestrian improvements. This will also include an ADA transition plan, which we plan on stretching that over 2 fiscal years. This first fiscal year will be kind of the right of way to see if we have adequate sidewalks and pedestrian paths throughout the town. So we'll bring a firm in, analyze the system, develop a plan, and then come up with a policy to be able to repair whatever is deficient out in the right of way. The following fiscal year, we'll look at all the village's buildings to see if we're ADA compliant. And so this will be a pretty large scale project over the next couple of years. Moving on to our road network. And these next couple of slides just are going over kind of the history and how our road network has been changing. And just want to kind of give you guys a background on the progress we've been making. So here we have the road network, a PCI, 0 being the worst road, 100 being the best road. And we have it color coded, red and purple are bad, and then yellow and green are good. And so in 2016, we were hovering around a 60 PCI rating, which is kind of sufficient what we wanted. Looking forward to 2020, this was kind of a transitional period. So we either could have just did status quo or invest in our infrastructure. And you can see there's a lot more purple and red on this map than there was previously. We still hovered around a 61 PCI, but this was kind of a tipping point. Either we kind of trail off going lower than what we wanted to anticipate, or we invest in our infrastructure. And so past 5 years, we've been able to do that. And now moving on to 2025, this is our road network now. And so now we're at a 72 PCI. So we're doing really well in terms of maintaining our infrastructure and hitting our goal of roughly 6 miles per year, which is very important. And so we've just been doing a really good job. The money we've been investing has been paying off. And then as well as our patching program, extending the length of roads as well has been helping out a lot. Moving on to the next slide is just a comparison of this fiscal year to this next potential fiscal year. And I just want to kind of show you the areas we've been touching throughout town. We take I'll call it a shotgun approach, where we try to touch all aspects of the village in terms of maintaining our infrastructure. And so the green is what we currently accomplished this fiscal year, and the blue is proposed. And so last year, we almost did 9 miles of resurfacing with a half-mile recon, versus this upcoming year, we'll be doing over 5 miles of resurfacing with 1.25 miles of recon. And again, it's just showing a distribution throughout town, trying to maintain the infrastructure throughout town. Moving on to this fiscal year, this coming up fiscal year. So the red lines on the map is indicating our resurfacing program. The purple line is indicating the Fuller Road reconstruction project. And then the blue and orange, or I guess you could call it yellow or orange, is our, I'll call it the Estes water main project. That will be a water main with a resurfacing project all into one. And so that's a pretty big project. And so the average PCI rating for the overall proposed roads that we have is at a 31. So it's almost to failing. So this is going to be a good selection for this next coming year to be able to take care of some of these deteriorating roads. Moving on to the next slide. So now we'll just go into each zone, kind of a zoomed in project location specific map. This will be zone 1 of the MFT resurfacing project. This is the estates of Churchill Hunt. We'll be focusing on Bayswater Place, Westminster Lane, and Notting Hill Road. In zone 2, we'll be focused on the Quality Acres subdivision. If you remember, we just recently finished up a sanitary improvement project in this area. And so now that we've kind of annihilated the road network out there, we're going to come up this next following year, take care of it, resurface it, repair what we need to repair, such that that neighborhood is pretty much, we don't have to touch that for another 20 or so years. So that will include Wood Hill, Bow Court, Limb Court, and Branch Court. Moving on to zone 3, we'll get into the South Ridge subdivision. This will include roads, Cemetery Road, Indian Trail Road, Pheasant Meadow, Court, Quail Haven, South Ridge, Sleepy Hollow, Lane, and Knob Hill. Also included with the MFT resurfacing program, we'll look to resurface the Mother Road parking lot as well. That is not shown on these maps, but I did want to mention that that will be taken care of with that project. Moving on to zone 4, which will be a standalone project. This is the Estes Water Main Region project. Will be, once the water main is installed, we'll come back, resurface it. So the roads that will be resurfaced will be Ellis, Ferndale, Woodlawn, Estes, Dorchester, Kenwood, Blackstone, and Gould. Harper in that area actually was resurfaced not too long ago, the little cul-de-sac, probably in 2017 or 18, and then we just recently did the little stretch between Gould and Estes this coming year. That, for whatever reason, that section road has ductile iron water main versus cast iron water main, so we were able to get that one earlier than later. Moving on to the next slide, which I believe is covering the Fuller Road pedestrian improvements. And so that will be our project for next year, focusing on putting an 8-foot wide asphalt path, pretty much the entire length of Fuller Road. We'll probably go up to Wynwood with the asphalt path, and then travel north all the way to Spruce Point with the asphalt path. Just because the areas between Stearns and Spruce Point, and then Route 132 and Wynwood, there's, either conflicting utility conflicts where a sidewalk just makes more sense, or just slope constraints. So for the large majority of the Fuller Road reconstruction project will be a pedestrian path connecting to the ComEd Trail, so that should be a pretty good project. I just do want to note that I did have a couple bid requests here for gauges and Route 21 sidewalk improvement. That's still going to be planned on constructed this fiscal year. Again, we're just waiting on IDOT to give us final approval. And then also going to try to sneak in the Granville sidewalk, basically going from Waveland Avenue all the way to Boulevard View right away and the vacant Granville right away with a sidewalk. Again, I'm going to try to get that done as well this fiscal year. So those are still on the books for this coming months here. Moving on to our water and sewer system. We'll be spending roughly around $5.4 million, of which 3.3 will be water main replacement, 1.5 will be a water meter replacement. This is a 2-year ordeal where we'll be replacing the physical water meter. In years past, we replaced the water reader for the meter. Little rhyming scheme there. So now this is the replacement of the physical meter, and we plan on taking care of that in 2 fiscal years. $1.5 million per fiscal year to take care of it. We'll be doing our $150K for sewer lining. We'll have $80K stored away for the Washington Hunt Club project, which is hopefully going to be completed here in the spring, if not early spring, early summer. And then moving on to our stormwater management, we'll have some money for some drainage improvements throughout town. And then this Gow Beach. So we're working with the high school and park district to return, I guess you could call it, return Gow Beach to open space. So we're looking at removing the buildings at Gow Beach and then also removing a residential building on McClure Avenue, which the high school is using for storage, but not really for storage. So they've been willing to work with us where we'll be able to remove those buildings, get them out of the floodplain, and return that area to open space. So that should be a good project going forward here. Looking forward, like I mentioned, we'll have the meter replacement program coming these next 2 fiscal years. And then the long-term water main plan, I'll talk about that in a couple slides here. But first, we'll just kind of go through an overview of each project location. This map is just showing us where the water main will be taking place in the village. As you can see, there's a stretch on Fuller Road that's still cast iron that we're going to get out of the way of the new road and replace it with PVC piping. And then as well as this Estes area, all the roads highlighted in blue are where there's still existing cast iron system, which we plan on replacing this next fiscal year. This next map just gives a nice overview of our cast iron network. And so this is what we're really trying to take care of over these next couple of years. This is the low-hanging fruit where this basically is reaching its end of service life, and there's a variety of issues throughout this network. So the red is what is existing, the green is what we've been able to accomplish, and then in terms of replacing, and then the blue is what's proposed for next year. And so this just kind of gives you a good representation of what we have done, what we're going to do, and what we still need to do. And so I guess just wanted to explain that. And then moving on to our lovely graph here. This is a water main life cycle. I believe you guys have seen this before. Just kind of reiterate what this is going over. It's the life cycle of our network, overall network. So our PVC main, cast iron main, ductile iron main, asbestos concrete main, and just it kind of just gives a theoretical life cycle of that main over a course of time. And as you can see, in a couple decades, we'll have a very large spike in replacement schedules. So the idea is to kind of lower that, be more proactive, kind of like the road network, and take care of things that need to be replaced sooner than later, such that we're not going to be left in a pickle in the coming years. So we're just setting ourselves up to be in a good position. And so the red line is kind of what our average target cost we want to spend per year. The green line is our kind of projected cost over the next couple fiscal years. And you can see that these next couple of years, we're not gonna meet that red line criteria, just because there's some other projects going on, such as the water meter project. But also, it's gonna allow us some time to hire on additional staff to gear up towards larger projects when we have the staffing and budget to be able to really go after this water main network that's in a decline. So I guess with that, I'll hand it over to Brian to finish it up.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing to this chart. Nick said we were short these next 2 years. If you remember back when we talked about the grocery tax and the home rule sales tax, we didn't really have we thought the impact would be of the grocery tax. Getting through these next couple of years, we'll know for sure what that is. So it'll give us a little more certainty when we go to, fund these programs and let Nick know what he has spent, so to speak, with his staff in place. But I think these last two charts, this one and this one, we will just continue to keep that in the capital plan and refer to it every year, so you can see the progress we're making. One, smoothing out this spike, and then on the chart before, getting rid of the cast iron. So do that every year. Just last slide here, I just wanted to come back to the fund balance. Now that you've had a chance to see kind of the multitude of projects that are, large projects that we have this year. I just added a column to the right. So this shows where we project to finish at the end of fiscal year 26. So April 30 coming up. So what'll be there? Again, assuming the rest of the year is flat, so only the positive variance that we have through November. If we do transfer that $6.5 million that we need for the capital plan, you can see it puts us right at just over, we still have a little bit of excess in there, but right at that 65% mark. So I talked before, we're not spending money we don't have. It'll be there when we come for the transfer in April with the budget. Assuming nothing, nothing else, nothing happens out of the ordinary for the rest of the year, this is a pretty conservative outlook for where we'll finish. So, and as was mentioned all throughout, you can just see the huge projects that we have this year. A bunch of them are, 1 year, 2 year things, and then we're moving on, like the irrigation system, Village Hall, Fire Station 2, the meter program. Just stuff that we got to get kind of out of the way, get past that. So using that 6.5 will help us knock out some of these big ones. As Pat mentioned earlier, next year we won't be able to say it's the largest one, or I wouldn't anticipate being able to say that. You'll see this probably start to level out a little better in future years. With that, happy to take any questions.
Right, I'll start out to my right. Trustee O'Brien?
That was comprehensive. I just have 2 questions for yours. I know a local some taxing district was just shut down because of a cyber attack. So some of what you're planning is for that, or we're covered?
So there's multiple things there. We do have a disaster recovery plan. We do have our program with our managed security provider, Arctic Wolf, for ongoing monitoring. That disaster recovery components that I talk about, where we're taking our data and we're storing multiple copies of it, that helps us in case there is a cyber attack. We can go back and grab data out of that. So there are plans in place there.
Great, thanks. And then for Heather, when we replaced the readers, wasn't it like a 4-year project? You can try to do all the meters in 2?
Yes, because when we do the meter replacement program, we're going to use a consultant who can work longer hours than us, can schedule, more people, because they also have to have plumbers on staff to replace valves if valves are faulty inside when they're doing this project. So it pays to have a consultant do that so they can get it done faster than we can in our spare time.
That's going to be rapid.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Thorson?
Heather, their meter reader again. So, as somebody that just had siding replaced in my entire home and my contractor, not in the area, couldn't get the box correct around the reader, and they finally did. Great inspector, by the way, not the contractor. So, what do? Do we have to cap that? Because we've got a box cut into our siding, so I don't know how that is for people with an all-brick home, but would we cap that?
Do you mean where it was before?
Where the box is now?
It's going to stay. It would remain. The readers are going to stay, the new ones that we put in, those are going to stay. The meter inside your house where it's piped and comes in, that's what's getting replaced.
Okay, I know I was chatting about that with a person, so that's where you said the pipes, that you need a plumber there because they'll be inside the house
Correct,
doing that? Okay.
yes. So the people that we're hiring are licensed plumbers.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question about Gow Beach. So that you take out the house and the building that's there, will the water stay?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
You're not
just a
gonna-
pool right now, so
I know. It
it's
used to
actually
be,
a spring.
it used to be the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I thought if you were gonna try and drain it, I was gonna tell you it's spring fed.
No, I mean, the general plan is to clean it up down around there. The high school would like to have it cleaned up where they could use it for like biology class, you know, potentially have some native plantings and some signage next to it that they could go and look at, or with a QR code or something like that. So that's why we kind of partnered with the village, the park district, and the high school to all put our minds together as far as how can we return it to natural, but still have it be, you know, useful in some way, shape, or form to not only the high school, but the community as well. So I've had a couple meetings on it. I mean, the real benefit for us is getting those structures out of there if it floods again, which both the high school and park district are one to do without. So more to come on that. Like I said, we've only met once, got Nick plugged in it obviously from the Des Plaines River and flooding perspective, but really the plan is to just try to clean it up down there.
Well, that'll be nicer for the people on the trail too. So.
My left, trustee Bowles?
So you're removing all the fencing then around that area?
It's one of the things we've talked about, yep.
Yep. And the bluegills will get to stay there and
Bluegills.
bite whoever? Okay.
That's right.
I mean, I'd hate to see it just totally, you know, there's good memories involved.
I think their intention is try to keep it, do some path improvements, such that there could be maybe a potential lookout over the water. So,
We put Nick in charge of draining it, but we thought that'd be a cruel trick.
Yeah. I'd hate to, there's lots of memories. On the cyber, that is an issue with another organization. I know you have the resources. Are we covered insurance-wise? Because that is a big discussion right now, so.
Yeah, and I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, probably now at this point, that was something that Micah pushed to the forefront as far as securing cyber coverage for all of its members. So we secured as a pool, but they look at each individual member and what safeguards they have in place. So every year, Ryan has to complete a pretty comprehensive survey as far as what we're doing, what we're not doing. And I can tell you, out of all the members of Micah, I mean, we're at the top of the list as far as what we have in place right now, which is reflected in our premiums every year. I know we've brought in Mike Nugent, the pool administrator, and met with the mayor and talked about it as far as looking at our coverage levels and such. So, I mean, they purchased a certain amount of coverage for the pool as a whole. And then if you want above and beyond, so I mean, we've looked into some of those options. It's just, again, you know, what makes sense for us. So, but from an insurance standpoint, we feel like we're in a good spot. Again, the questions that are on the questionnaire that Ryan fills out are pretty in-depth questions that are the right questions to be
I
asking.
would say compared to when that coverage first started, it used to be just like a one-pager, you know, do you have backups, do you, you know, it was really simple. And then the current format, which I think we're in maybe third or fourth year on, the first time I did that, it was about 18 hours work to go through and get all the information together. Since then, it's just been updates and things that have been changed, so it's been very minor, but it's really comprehensive compared to what we had seen in the past.
I know that, I mean, all that conversation has to be very secure and within, you know, the executive committees and that I'm only becoming aware of all of this frightening nonsense
Things
that's out there.
that can happen, yeah.
And the other question I have, in the reconstruction here in the village hall and that, when the heat wave hit, is there going to be some way to secure the computers and all of that so that you don't have to worry again about the heat levels in the cool?
I think this time that we're gonna maintain our cooling, right? So it's gonna be, for the most part, updates that won't impact the HVAC systems. And what we do have now that we didn't have before is dedicated cooling for the equipment rooms. So even if the building was offline for some reason, that equipment room can stay running.
Okay.
So that'll help.
That was kind of frightening to think.
Yeah, no, the dedicated cooling unit, and I'll thank everybody here for that, the dedicated cooling unit for the equipment room here was new last year, and it has been noted already.
And I just, again, kudos for working to get rid of all the lead piping in the community.
Not lead,
Pardon me?
not lead, cast iron.
Cast iron.
Cast iron.
Big difference.
Sorry.
There's, yeah,
Yes, cast
big
iron.
difference.
Because that's been a big concern, and it always bothers when I see Public Works out in the freezing temperatures, working on those holes. So I like that we have got that whole long range and are working towards securing that. And I never understand, and somebody has to explain why, when we do reconstruct a road, that we don't take care of that simultaneously. Like I see in one of the pictures that Kilbourne, when it was replaced, taken down to and the pipes weren't done. That's mind-boggling to me. I'm glad to hear that Fuller will be done together, but
Sometimes it just comes down to timing. The timing doesn't work out. In the future, we're gonna be coming to those points where the road will be due and there is poor water main, and they'll have to be taken care of all at once.
well,
Yep.
thank you for that planning. I appreciate that.
Do our best.
Okay, I'll shut up. Go ahead. Your turn.
Thank you. Not a lot of questions. Very thorough job, thank you. The questions about cybersecurity, you've exhausted my ability to comprehend what you're saying, so while I might have questions around that, I'm not going to ask. I appreciate this approach that you've taken. Carrying the additional surplus doesn't make sense when there's capital projects that need to be attended to. And I appreciate the thoroughness of staff and leadership in identifying the priorities with this big influx of spending and how to prioritize these jobs and get them done. So kudos to staff, and thank you for your thoughtful approach to that. I think it's a great investment in our community that makes more sense than carrying a surplus. And the way that you've approached that, Brian, and keeping us without dipping below reserves, I have just a great deal of confidence in that, and I think that it's just a really smart approach, so I appreciate that. And one thing that I hadn't thought of, Jeremy, that I want to give you kudos to is how to repurpose that communication center now that we've consolidated it dispatch. Just a thoughtful approach to how to use that space, and also, talking about when conditions go crazy, like when we need air conditioning to keep the computers cool, the generators are an essential piece of that, and being able to downsize, downscale, deprioritize the need to have the robust generator to be able to respond within hours when the communication center was our responsibility to taking another look at that and what is necessary and how to do that in a more cost-effective way. So I didn't see that one coming, so kudos to you and thanks.
Anybody else? You guys okay? No rebuttal from you guys, no? It was awesome. I just, yeah, we have no lead pipes in town.
No lead pipes in town.
That's right. Just double down on that, right? So thank you very much for the time and effort that you guys put in.
Sure, so we'll continue to work the operating budgets, so those are due Friday. And then Brian will take some time, get those in decent shape. Myself, Brian will meet with the departments, go through that. Looking to have the budget book completed like middle of February, hopefully. So then we'll have our one-on-ones and then get that posted to the website. And then our budget public hearing, first workshop, the first meeting in March, starting at 5:30 like we typically do. So, but we'll be talking in between now and then, for sure. So.
All right, thanks, Pat. So there's, on to the next items, no old business, on to new business. Approval of ordinance 2026.
02.
granting a special use permit pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance for 5250 Route 132. Pat?
Sure, so memo in your packet from Dave Ziegler, our Community Development Director on this. So this is the sign over at Pembroke Corners. So this is Jimmy John's, Mama K's, Harbor Coins over there. May have noticed that the sign out by the road has disappeared. They were having structural issues with it. So the sign's originally from 1989. It was made of wood. Noticed some structural failure in it. So the sign was removed on October 13th. Looking to replace the sign. However, they need a special use permit. So if you look at the memo, you've got a picture here on the first page of what the original sign looked like. Second page is what they're proposing. So the proposed sign looks very similar to the original, but it's not as tall and doesn't carry as many tenant panels. The height, however, and the number of tenant panels, so it's going from 30 feet down to 18 feet. What's allowed is 12, and then the tenant panels are going from 15 tenant panels down to 8, or are allowed. So the 18 feet tall and the 8 tenant panels requires a special use permit. So that's what is before you tonight. It was before the Planning and Zoning Board, December 3rd, received unanimous favorable recommendation. They want to, maintain the sign, kind of in the same design as the center that they've had in the past, just bringing the size down, so.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
By trustee Valmus, second by trustee O'Brien. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Aye.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item 2, approval of ordinance 2026.
303.
Authorizing a 6-month extension of a professional services agreement with Malin and Associates, Inc. for restaurant retail recruitment and development advisory services. Pat?
Yeah, Ellen's got a presentation she's gonna run through quick here.
It'll be
so
brief.
I'll kick it to Ellen.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
The initial 6-month agreement with Mike Mallon of Mallon and Associates, which we approved in July, went quickly. It is elapsing without a tangible deal to bring to you this evening, which I feel badly about, but it did not elapse without, moving significantly toward the goal of putting Gurnee in front of some major restaurant and retail groups, and that's something we'd like to continue working on. So since July, Mr. Mallon met with the owners of all of these initial target sites and developed a prospect list for each of those sites based upon the site attributes, the trade area, the demand, nearby competition. And we have started conversations with restaurant groups, retailers, and mixed-use developers that honestly would not have happened had he not been involved. So a quick refresher on each of the sites and why we chose them. East Grand Avenue, the former Sussman Flooring Building, and Gurnee East Point, the major multi-tenant center anchored by Salvation Army, significant commercial properties. 2 corners of the intersection of Washington and Cemetery, the southeast corner by Market Square and the northwest corner, the Triangle property south of Six Flags, the former Quarter Bakery space, long vacant at Gurnee Mills, and then to that we added the former Hooters space, and then after that, because it was going to auction, the Saludos space, so that we could put those second-generation restaurant sites, which honestly are hard to find, in front of some of the major groups that Mike works with. And then, although it's not shown on the map, Riverside Plaza changed ownership this past fall, and the new owners are working very hard to market the outlots as well as the inline spaces. They have 2 different brokers they're working with. Mike happens to know both of them, so we're just staying in touch to make sure that we offer our assistance as they market that site. So we have our specific sites in mind, but the reality is that more importantly is putting the restaurants and the retailers where they want to be in town. So we're kind of approaching this from 2 directions, site-driven and user-driven. Mike has developed a prospect list of about 60 major restaurant groups and entertainment groups that he's worked with in other communities, including this one that's shown here that has several North Shore locations. It's a good example because they're not in the far north. They have quite a presence in the near north. Mike works with them in those communities, so we present Gurnee to see if they'd like to include us in their expansion plans. These next few slides just are very recent photos of the status of projects that are really moving forward in 2025. It was a sort of a leap forward year. The investment's paying off. Mike's been working on these for about 3 years as a contractor to the village of Glenview. This is a ballyhoo concept that just opened at the end of the summer. A point of real pride, with good reason, to the village and to Mike. This is one of the operators that I know Mike's going to be talking with, already is, in 2026, and they're open to looking at opportunities in Gurnee. So roughly 30 of the 60 prospects on his list have specifically indicated they're open to Gurnee and will be pursuing and presenting sites this year. So just getting the attention of these retailers and restaurants is a bit of a feat, especially in the latter half of the calendar year, which we just came off of. But Mike has more than opened those doors for us already. And furthermore, because he's gained their trust in other projects, he has the ability to speak their language, know what they're looking for, and how a new market might be complementary to their current locations. So with all of that said, it would be staff's recommendation that we extend the contract to continue what we've started. The 6 months of service, slightly different than from the packet materials, would be non-consecutive. So we would be spreading 6 months of professional fees over 8 months, January 7th through September 6th, but only paying 6-month fees. The terms are the same, $7,000 plus out-of-pocket, which have been very minimal. And the source for the contract would, again, be the Economic Development Fund, in keeping with the goal of that fund. And as always, your support in finding those new opportunities is appreciated, and happy to answer any questions.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Woodside. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item 3. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you.
Approval of request from Public Works Department to waive bidding requirements and purchase 3 utility service bodies, 3 liftgate systems, 1 9-foot plow, and related accessories from Bonnell Industries at a cost not to exceed $99,715.66. Public Works Department units 249, 684, and 686. Yeah.
Sure. So earlier this fiscal year, we approved the purchase of the pickup trucks themselves. Now this is the upfitting of the truck. So 3 trucks. The equipment listed here, it's purchase and install. So utility service bodies for each of the 3 units, lift gates for each of the 3 units, 9-foot plow for one of the units. Also, there's lighting that goes with it and other accessories. So I've worked with Bonnell in the past. Been working with them for the last 13 years. They upfit the larger plow trucks. We've used them for the pickup trucks. I've been happy with the service, so the department is requesting to continue forward with them to upfit these 3 pickup trucks.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Balmas. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Aye.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. On to public comment. Anybody in the public may make a comment with regard to any issue. If you'd like to step to the microphone and state your name. There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.